Buddy, welcome to Dandelion Cottage and Watercolor Wednesday. My apologies for getting a late start here today. I was actually filming to a different page. So I think, let me just double check and make sure that I'm in the right place now. There we go. Okay. Oh my goodness. All right. So here is our beautiful rhododendron blossom. I'm Leslie Watkins. Welcome to Dandelion Cottage. I'm so sorry for the delay. I was starting the video, sending it to a private page where no one could see it, and I couldn't understand why it wasn't coming up on my live feed. So I think we're all set now. So let's just get started and not waste any more of your time. So here we go. This is the rhododendron blossoms that bloom in front of Dandelion Cottage every spring. And this truss just opened up this morning. You can see it still has a few buds that have yet to open, okay? And it looks like these shrubs are fixing to have an absolutely spectacular display this year. So maybe what I'll do is in a day or two, once it really kicks in, I'll get out there and I'll take a picture and I'll post it on the page so you can see it. So they're really very exciting. You can see that there's a cool pink tinge to them, particularly on the buds, and also on the stamens and the anthers. They're just lovely. And this particular cultivar actually gets a little pinker as time goes on, so it changes color slightly. So I have a piece of watercolor paper here, and I've got a number 2 pencil. I'm going to be painting this with 3 colors, just red, yellow, and blue. And for those of you who are registered for the May watercolor class, that video is going to be released later today, so stay tuned. I think you're really going to love it, and I imagine, I'm hoping that everybody should have their packages by now. So if for some reason you did not get your watercolor kit or the full package, please let me know at www.dandelioncottagedesign.com. You'll find my email there, or you can just send me an email to leslie@dandelioncottagedesign.com and I will get that. Or you can instant message me, put a comment below, and I will look into it. So yeah, so keep an eye out for that today. That's going to be a lot of fun. All right, now I'm going to zoom you in a little bit more so you can see. And I'm going to be painting this at much smaller than what it actually is. So this is really just going to be a little study, and it's going to go kind of quick because I've already wasted so much time with technology, so I don't want to spend all day long doing this. And what I'm doing is I'm just getting the overall shape, okay, and then I'm adding the directions of the leaves as they point out in all these different directions. Here's the stem, and then I'm going to just locate the position of these blossoms. So here's one here, that's the main one. Then I've got another one that's sort of pointing or facing off to the side, like so. And here's one that is facing upwards. And I've got another one over here. There's one tucked into the shadows under here, and then just bits and pieces of these other ones poking through. Now I have a kneaded eraser here, so I'm just going to pull on that to soften it. And I can just gently blot away the extra graphite from the pencil. I'm not even rubbing it. I'm just blotting and lifting it off. So there's my sketch. Not much, just enough. And I'm taking a very, very pale mixture of this pink, just diluting that way down. And I'm going to begin by blocking in some of these shadow areas. There we go. Just a soft little wash. I'm going to take some medium green and just indicate these leaves. And I'm using the leaf as a foil to indicate the edge of some of these blossoms. There we go. That's a petal, not a leaf. Okay, so that is my basic shape. And in the center of one of the petals on each of these blooms, I guess maybe that's called the dorsal petal, I'm not even sure, but it has a little splotch of a yellowish greenish tone. So I'm just going to indicate those areas. Just like so. I'm going to soften the edges. And now what I'm going to do is I'm taking a mixture of a pale blue violet and a little bit of mud from the palette just to sort of gray it down a little bit, and a lot of water. And I'm going to begin to just indicate some of the areas of shadow. And I don't even know if you can see this because it's just so pale, but I'll show it to you in just a minute. So just the palest tone to begin to get those shadow areas established. And then what I'm going to do is do a little bit of drawing of the way the petals overlap one another. And I'm adding a little more value to that same mixture, just a little bit darker. And now I'm going down into, it's a little too dark, but I'm going down into the shadow areas. And I'm going to do the same thing, just begin to develop some of the shapes of these buds and flowers. There we go. And now I'm going to begin on my middle tones. Those are my light areas established. So I'm mixing a little bit of blue and yellow to get a medium green. And this green is a little more on the blue or cool side, a little bit darker. And I'm going to just model some of these leaves. This is just the first pass. There we go. So it's just hard and soft edges here. In the watercolor video, I'll be talking a lot more about how to create the hard and soft edges and what the purposes of doing that are. These leaves are, you know, the texture of them is kind of leathery, and they're very matte. They have a kind of a dull sheen to them. So I don't want them to look shiny, but I do want to capture some of that sheen. There we go. And they have a pronounced central vein, and they kind of curl away from us, sort of a convex shape. So I want to try to convey that. And then this one down here is just in shadow. There we go. And then the stem has a lot of yellow in it. There we go. All right. So I'm adding a little more blue, getting a darker mixture with a little bit of violet in there. And I'll just increase some of these tones, just going sparingly. There we go. And I'm continuing to soften those edges. And that softening helps to create the illusion of form. Just want to improve the shape on this one. There we go. It's better. Okay, we're going to get back to the flower now. I can put a little bit of shadow on the stem. There we go. Okay, so now the way I want to work on these flowers is very delicately. And one of the things I want to do is to take those yellow areas. Let me get a sip of coffee here. Okay, so I'm just taking the yellow and I'm adding a tiny bit of red to that. And I can start to indicate just some of these little speckles. Like so. Just a little bit. And this just gives the impression. Okay, I'm not trying to slavishly copy what I'm seeing here. What I'm doing is I'm just indicating, just to give an impression. So there's a difference. There we go. I'm going to go back to that violet mixture with a little bit of yellow in it to gray it, and a lot of water. And I'm just going to increase some of these shadows here and there. There we go. That's a little too blue. Just soften that a bit. Kind of add a little more red to get it back to the violet. Drop of yellow. It's better. And I'm just using the damp brush to pull that pigment around in the interior of this downward facing blossom. Now I want to pay careful attention to some of the petals here. So for instance, this flower is my center of attention. And so I'm going to do a little more careful drawing on that one than I will on the others, because the other ones are just going to be playing a kind of a supportive role to this one. So, you know, pick the one that is going to be your star and give that one a little extra TLC. And that way the other ones can be just sort of indicated, and they will then not compete, because you don't want it not creating a scientific illustration here. We're just going for something more poetic. Okay, now this needs a little clarification in here. So I'm going to select one of these blossoms or petals to help define the structure. So what I'm doing is I'm modeling these forms just the way as I would on any other subject. But in this case, because the flowers are so pale, I'm using very close values. So it's a very subtle process. So if you want to give this a try, painting some white flowers or pale pink flowers, just remember to build it up very slowly, because it's a lot easier to add than it is to take away. So this is what that looks like at this stage. So what I need to do now is I need to smooth out, like this is looking a little jumpy through here. Okay, so I just need to smooth those out a little bit. So I'm taking some more of my medium green mixture. I'm just going to increase the value over here. And there are some very slight kind of undulations or ruffles, waves, I guess you'd say, along there. Okay. And this edge is curling up a little bit against the light, so we can grab that. And that's starting to come together pretty well. Now, remember, this is just a tiny little sketch. So if we were to measure it, it's only about 5 inches by 3.5. So there's only so much we can do without turning this into an actual miniature, which is not my intention. Although there's nothing wrong with miniatures, they are amazing. Okay, and then I think the only other thing I want to do with these leaves is just to put a little violet, blue violet accent in here where the darkest cast shadow is. Here, you see I'm on the shadow side of the specimen now. And just blend that away. Okay. All right, so now our flowers. Now here and there we do want to get a slightly darker accent, but this is where you really have to use your restraint. So there are some areas that are in the range of the darkest dark. And what do I mean by that? Well, if you follow the movement of light on a form, there is an area on the form, particularly on a sphere, that's called the darkest dark. And I'm going to be talking a lot more about that in the watercolor class. There's going to be an entire lesson just on the movement of light and how to render form. And so in those areas, you can get away with a darker accent even on a white form, but you, as I said earlier, you have to be very careful. So now here I'm just adding a cast shadow, and I'm just going to pull that around. There we go. Okay, so I think you can begin to see the form developing here. And I just want to connect these shadows, so I'm just going to glaze a little shadow tone all across here. Just a little wash. Pull that together. There we go. And let's see if we can get the impression of some of these beautiful anthers. So using very little water or paint on the brush, I can blot it, and just using the tippy tip, I can start to sketch some of these wonderful shapes coming out of the flower centers. I'm going to keep going. This is where they really start to take on the characteristic of the rhododendron blossoms. There we go. And then on the tips of some of these, we have a kind of a pinkish orange spot. So we can put a couple of those in. There we go. All right, so I think you can get an idea of how you might want to tackle something like this. Just going to add a little more pink over here, a little blush of pink. And I'm just kind of glazing on the top now. And I'm doing this because I don't want the shadows to look so violet that the flower begins to appear to be violet. So I'm just making a little adjustment here and there that helps to balance the overall tone. Here we go. It's not much at all, just the tiniest amount. And I think I'd like to increase the tone in here just a bit, just a little accent. There we go. Now the last thing I want to do is on the stem, there are some little kind of rusty, scarlety colored specks. So I'm just going to see if I can capture some of that effect on here. There we go. All right. So I think we're going to call that a day. If you'd like to learn more about the upcoming online classes, please subscribe to Notes at dandelioncottage.com, and you will get an announcement on the 1st of each month that lists all the different online classes that I have coming up. And I can tell you that in June there are going to be some spectacular watercolor classes coming up because just as a sneak announcement, I'm going to be doing a lot of peony painting. So stay tuned for that and subscribe to make sure that you find out what all the dates and information is. And I hope you have a lovely, beautiful spring day. So stay safe, stay well, stay creative, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.